The Losers Lounge. Oh, I didn't realize.
It's a high-energy Losers Lounge.
Hold on, what do you mean you didn't realize?
Well, until I said that exact word, I didn't know where I was going with it. But yes, turns out we are live from the Losers Lounge. Our first real Losers Lounge inside the DNVR bar.
I still think it's lit.
Brr, 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 brr.
I'm excited to be here, man. I missed the test show yesterday, so it's good to be in our new digs. Good to be next to you guys. Look, I think that game actually ended up going the way a lot of us thought it would go prior to tip-off. And so before we dive into what was disappointing, just excited to be here, man.
I'm not. I feel terrible. I was really hyped up for this game. We lost by a pretty wide margin. I've lost faith in a lot of things that I thought were true in this world. I'm looking for a hug.
Namely Michael Porter Jr.
I'm looking for a hug. We have to stay socially distanced. There's no answers for me today.
There's really there's no respite from this despair.
You could drink. We're at a bar, so that's an
drink.
option.
All right.
No,
Okay.
honestly,
I'm
there was
back.
I'll be honest. Same thing. Look, I predicted the Nuggets were going to lose.
Yep.
I actually wasn't. I thought they were going to lose by more or less the margin that they did. I thought it was going to go more or less. So, sure, when it happens, in the moment, you kind of look there and you go like, oh, this sucks. This blows. We got a nice bar, socially distanced to capacity bar. People really hoping for it, but it wasn't to be. Guys, to set up the show in just a little bit, Harrison right now is on the phone with the Denver Nuggets. He is doing all post-game interviews, but he should be wrapping that up here any second. He'll join the show. But, he's already here? Oh, we already have him here live and in the flesh. All right, Harrison, where are you right now?
Can you guys see me?
No.
Currently in the Grand Destino.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
Just got done with post-game media session, so
I mean, it looks.
I'm here.
I'm no expert. It looks like you're outside the Grand Destino. Are you not?
Oh, am I? Yeah, I am outside. That's right.
Does
Yeah,
this
that's
put you in the bubble technically? Or are you just like right on the parameter?
I'm in the bubble, guys. I am in the bubble. Staying at the Marriott. Got to get the Marriott points up, but
I figured you'd be in the
hopped
yacht
over
club.
to the Grand Destino.
What a pro!
What a pro. Well, before we get to what happened in the conference calls, just a big takeaway vote. Like, what's your number one takeaway from this game?
Guards help.
Starters help.
Look, I think you saw a lot of the key guys that you wanted to see play hard tonight.
Yeah.
And I think you saw a really well-coached and good team in Miami that plays hard take advantage of a team that hasn't been together, wasn't full strength. So you really don't want to panic too much. I mean, the defense slipped in the third, but I actually thought for 2 quarters Denver hung right in there, all things considered.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they were literally in the lead after 2.
Hard to believe now.
If we do rewind it, though, if you go back to that first half, so when you get the news that Jamal Murray is not going to play, Gary Harrison and Will Barton, I think we kind of all knew that was likely that those two wouldn't. But when Jamal Murray was out, I'm like, all right, this game's going to be ugly. It's going to be a blowout. But it wasn't. Denver, through the first half of the game, you felt proud. Yoke, I thought, carrying the team. The guys were fighting, guys were battling, lots of fouls, a little sloppy in that regard. But, you felt good. To me, my takeaway was, number one, I don't think there's anybody – we're going to play the blame game a little bit later on.
Sure thing.
But there was a moment in this game, and it started with 7 minutes left in the third quarter, where the wheels came off, and they came off fast.
And hard.
Like, Denver went to a screeching halt. And part of this was, the lineups. Malone didn't have a lot to work with. I mean, what's the old saying? You can't make chicken soup out of chicken shit. Malone was forced with that. The moment he had to pull a player out on principle was Michael Porter Jr.
Right.
Missed an assignment. You can do that when you're like, okay, but we're going to put other balanced lineups in. No, there's no other balanced lineups. The wheels completely fell off.
They needed MPJ's scoring tonight. Now, granted, he didn't provide a lot, but yeah, you're right. Like you can make that decision when you're full strength.
Yeah.
And there's Murray out there and Barton out there to give you offense, and you can lean heavily on some more defensively oriented guys. But when you're shorthanded as it is, they weren't going to win this game unless MPJ found a way to give them 20+. His struggles aside, that can't happen if he's not playing.
Yeah.
So I think Malone didn't love his effort. We'll go to Harrison with this after the game. I saw a quote floating around that he could have played harder, particularly on the glass. Only 1 rebound for Michael Porter Jr. tonight.
That's wild.
So I think that's some of it, too. It's not just defense, but what specifically happened on defense? Well, he got swallowed up by a couple of screens that he didn't even really try to fight through. So that kind of stuff is going to grind at Malone, but I'm with you. I mean, he doesn't really have that luxury right now.
Well, let's go to the man here. So, Harrison, you talked to Malone. What was I don't know why I'm asking this. This is rhetorical. What was Malone's vibe post game?
What do you think his vibe was?
Probably pretty excited and happy for the effort.
He was pissed, but not like the world is ending pissed as we've seen him after some losses this year. I actually asked him, can he take any positives away from this game? Like, yes, he has to go back and watch the film, but from what he saw, were there any positives? And he paused. You could tell he was thinking, and then he said, well, nobody got hurt. So that was the big positive that the
That's
Nuggets
a classic
could take away
Malone.
from this.
Nobody died. I guess that's one
But
positive.
no, we were even talking about it during the game. Like, what were the positives we could take away? PJ Dozier had a nice little run. Nikola Jokic did some good things, I thought. Mason Plumlee in the first half played well. But the positives were few and far between, I thought.
Yeah. So let's take on Malone's role here because we're laughing at Malone for being the curmudgeon. But honestly, vote. What was the positives?
Well, I actually thought there was a lot of focus on defense in the first half.
Yeah,
all
yeah,
things
that's a good
considered.
point.
I really thought they were playing hard on that end, particularly Jokic, who played very well on the defensive end tonight. Bam Adebayo's stat line is good, so if you're looking center-to-center matchup, you may not see that. But go back and watch
Kelly Olynyk.
Right, yeah.
Really, all the centers had great nights.
But in all seriousness, if you go, like, Jokic was active. He got his hands in there. He made a couple of nice rotations. So it wasn't an abysmal effort. It was an abysmal third quarter.
Yeah.
It's his job to focus on that. But I think it's okay if you're a fan to say, well, maybe that doesn't happen if Jamal Murray's out there.
Right, yeah.
If I can get a little poetic, guys.
Oh, please do. Do we
Please
have
do.
any poetry music?
Yeah.
Do we have? Actually, you know what?
What is poetry music?
This was a tale of two halves. This was a tale
think
of
it's
two
'cause he doesn't know how
halves.
to snap.
The first half was exhilarating. It was
I would agree.
life affirming.
Yeah, it was.
It felt like the 4 months that we put into hyping up this particular game was worth it. And then the second half, maybe not so much. The effort fell off. The execution fell off. Michael Porter Jr. fell off. Bol Bol did get in the game, which I appreciated.
You want to go to bright spots?
Yeah,
I mean, to me,
you're
there
right.
is
Yeah,
one bright
yeah.
spot. Bol Bol played, and I'm less confident. When we saw the lineups today, I was like, you know what? Bol Bol's going to play. He's going to get 20 minutes, and it's going to be a part. And even if they lose, it's going to be fun. Well, he didn't get 20 minutes.
What did he get?
How many minutes did he
check.
get here? 11. So he got half that. I mean, he got 11 minutes. But he looked good. I think, to me, if there's a bright spot, it's that, Bol Bol got his NBA debut. That's meaningful. And, he didn't look dissimilar from what he did in the preseason, which was like a player.
And what was the context? I believe he was playing the 3 with MPJ at the
Right.
2 and
Yeah.
Mason Plumlee at the 4. So
Do we have some of these queued up, some of these videos to go? I get the producer running all over the set.
that's less than ideal, right? That lineup play.
Let's take a look at some of these because Bol Bol, I think our first one we have here is this beautiful pass. I mean, there's like a beautiful Bol. 0 assists in his entire G League stint. And in the preseason, he's had like 8 bangers.
Well, to be fair, he played like 11 minutes total in his G League stint also.
No, I mean, I had no idea he had this pass in his bag. I don't know if we got it up yet, but this is like, you know what this reminded me of is that Jared Vanderbilt full court pass that he put some sauce on, and then we never heard from him again.
Yeah.
Fellas, I think we're going to hear from Bol Bol again. I thought he looked pretty good out there.
I do too. I think I don't know. It's tough because of the timing and everything, so I don't know that he's.
Tonight, right?
Yeah, he's not. I don't know. Do we lose Harrison in the Grand Destino? Is he?
I think he got lost in the sauce.
I think he might. Because I'm curious, Harrison, what did you think of Bol Bol's sort of debut? This was his actual debut.
This was his literal
Yeah,
debut.
I mean,
a lot of lag
we
from
thought he
Florida.
was going to play, right? Like, we didn't think the scrimmage was the last we were going to see of Bol Bol during this restart here. And look, he was out there. I thought he held his own. So, I mean, going forward, like, if he's playing 5 to 10 minutes a game, I don't see what's wrong with that if the Nuggets just kind of need a change in momentum because, I don't know, things just happen. Things just seem to happen when Bol gets out there, right?
Harrison, do you think that he's more of a small forward or a power forward?
He's a 4-man, I think. I think he's a 4-man.
So
he's
that's a power forward, to be clear.
Yeah.
He's not picking it up.
Harrison, what can you tell us of the ping pong battles there in the Grand Destino?
Can you say it a little louder, D-Line?
I apologize. I forgot that I'm yelling cross country here. What can you tell us about the ping pong action there in the Players' Lounge at the Grand Destino? Is it comparable to, say, the Yacht Club or potentially the Floridian?
Yeah, it's funny because last night around 10 p.m., I was walking around.
Sure.
Come across a ping pong game.
Sure.
Nikola Jokic versus Michael Malone.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Battle of the Titans.
Things were getting heated.
Sure.
Things were getting heated for sure. Jokic took the first game. Malone
Really long story.
almost
Impressive
took the
detail.
second game. And then Jokic blanked him 11-0 in the third game. So,
Take that L on the way out,
yeah.
Malone.
For someone who just tuned in and saw Harrison Wynn speaking with a
That L
straight
on the way
face,
out.
that's not a real report. I just want to be clear.
So, yeah, I don't know if that carried over to the game. I don't know
Clearly.
if Malone was still frustrated
Bad
with that
feelings.
loss after this one. But,
I know Jokic also spoke after the game, Harrison. I mean, what were some of the big takeaways that he had?
yeah, it was really kind of the same tone with all three players who spoke, Jokic, Monte Morris, and Torrey Craig. I mean, yeah, it was a tough loss. That third quarter was a disaster, but I mean, nobody's like really panicking. I think it just kind of is what it is. They're down guys. The first game in a while, they got a lot to clean up. It just kind of is what it is. Like, they know they've got a lot of things to do better on the defensive end, but I don't think anybody's like down the dumps after this one.
I am. I'm down in the dumps.
Well, yeah, just Eric. Let's play a little blame game, though. So, I mean, a lot happened in this game. If there was one culprit that was the reason that the team lost, it can be a person, a place, or a thing. Place is a stretch. But
Grandestino.
What do you think, Eric?
It was the missing starters. Not having our starters in play.
Okay,
You know
what's
what?
your
You know
second
what,
answer?
though? Yeah, because
That
there's
is the correct
There's the
answer.
Utah 7. There's the Orlando 8 in
Hey,
scrimmage
that's a
number
great
1.
point.
The Nuggets play their best at times with their back against the wall. They didn't today, so why not?
That's a great point,
Thanks,
actually.
Adam.
You know what? There was it because there was a whole run there. The entire month of January was like, oh, they have no chance.
I know, but-
Milwaukee on the road, they got in at 4, and they just bring an energy that was a we can't lose. We are. This is who we are.
listen,
that energy was not there tonight. There
No.
was a weird energy. I thought.
Because it matters which 8 players
Yeah.
construct the 8 or the 7. Like,
Yeah, Well, of course.
Not having Jamal Murray was the second. I showed up to the bar with youthful exuberance and vigor, ready to go, ready to eat a breakfast hash and
Yeah, that was great. I
Strawberry
had
craft
one as well.
coffee,
It was
both
so
of which I
good.
did.
Yeah, the cold brew is pretty tight.
And then I read on my phone, I read a little tweet ski that said that Jamal Murray was out, and then I told you I was going to go home. And I was done. I
I
immediately
thought you
started.
did. At one point, I thought you'd get on your scooter.
Yeah. And then I
leave,
started.
so
I
thought you were-
started immediately poisoning the timeline with negative tweets, and they came to pass. So
Listen, I think there's some blame to play, and I'm going to do it since we're literally playing the blame game, so it's going to seem a little critical. But I thought Michael Porter Jr. could have been the reason they won today. He was not. I mean, he didn't play well offensively, as Malone alluded to. His effort was lackluster. He's too good of a rebounder to only have one, regardless of the shooting night he's had. The defensive mistakes were glaring, as they've been in the past. So 2 huge blocks. This is a guy who's capable of more. I still think you've got to give him a longer leash. But he didn't play well enough, and we know if he gives Malone an inch, he's going to take a mile.
Yeah.
So in the end, I think it's on MPJ.
I agree with you. I look. It's not
On MPJ is like a
Yeah,
weird
it's
way to
not
frame
on
it.
MPJ,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I was so excited for this. Look, MPJ, let's not dance around this. He's been in the headlines this week for reasons not about basketball, and that whatever. We've talked about that. It's fine. People can have opinions or whatever, but when you do that, you really, to not make yourself a distraction, really come out and really just involve yourself. And I think, to your point, guys miss shots. If he would have made those shots tonight, maybe we're talking a little bit differently.
make or miss league, baby.
He had a couple plays where I was like, okay, that's a nice hustle play early. The block shot, of course, that was a loud block shot. After that, it did just seem like, what are you doing here? And I hate that because I don't think Michael Porter Jr. is that player. I think he is a guy that he's just, something happens, whether it's rebounds, whether it's some. And it didn't happen tonight. He was nowhere.
He can impact the game, whether his game is on or off, right? So that's why it's the level of engagement. He's too talented in the areas in between. He's not just a give me the ball and let me dribble. The rebounding, the length on D, like he can make an impact. And so when he's not sticking his nose in there, it's fair to say, hey, that's your responsibility because you're good enough to do that.
Harrison, if we play blame game, where would you put the blame? Spot number 1.
I mean, the defense in the third quarter was putrid. It seemed like Denver kind of just ran out of gas, right?
Kind of, yeah.
I think so, for sure.
That's
Yeah.
part of it for sure.
They were great in the first half. I thought they played as good of a first half as they probably could have just with their personnel. But in that third quarter, it seemed like they ran out of gas. So, I mean, that's where I'd put the most blame. When it comes to MPJ, it just never seemed like he got into the game. He never got into the flow of the game.
Yeah.
He floated a lot, I thought, tonight. And I mean, he did some good things, but like, just never really got into the flow of the game, it seemed.
Yeah.
And I think those offensive rebounds and those hustle plays, they get him going too, right? So in lieu of making a couple shots to start the game, make your own luck, and he just didn't.
Yeah. What about questions? Do we have the mailbag? You want to fire that up here real quick?
Yeah.
PJ Dozier had a good run. I wouldn't say he had a great game. He picked up those fouls. But I'll say this. I really like his defensive upside. It was reinforced. That was the one thing I thought stood out about his game. And then he had a nice moment. I think he scored all 6 of his points in a row. So he had a nice little run there where it was like, okay, Dozier's showing a little bit of life. I'm glad he got some run, but, we'll see. When people talk about the league, it being sloppy or the defense being rough, I think the thing you forget is that fouls are often the result of a sloppy defense. Yeah. And tonight there were so many fouls. 37 free throw attempts for Miami, which is 11 more than the league leader this season.
Yeah.
The team that led the league. So that's a lot of fouling from Denver.
Yeah, I mean, this was like disappointing. It's obviously, if you take a step back in general, this was a meaningless game in almost every way.
Oh, I like it. You're coming around.
There's
there's a little color coming back into your flesh here.
Listen. Like, I like to live in my emotions in the world of sports.
You really do.
But now I'm returning to my rational brain. My rational brain says, okay, that was the first of 8 games. Monte Morris, this was his first game back. He looked pretty rough. He
did.
Sort of picked it up. There was obviously the starting unit had absolutely no flow, no cohesion. They weren't playing together well at all. They were just sort of like 5 guys moving around together, which is to be expected. That's a lineup I literally don't think has been together ever before.
Yeah.
So, am I disappointed? Yes, absolutely. I'm horribly disappointed, but does it mean anything? Probably not. Maybe. I don't know. But I don't know. We'll be back, baby. Come on.
Go ahead.
So almost all these questions are about the guards, and as you'd expect. To put it, so this one comes from Jacob Rogero. What's your level of concern for the missing guards at this point?
It's a good question, man.
It's tough to answer because I don't know any prognosis, any timeline here. Like I don't know.
Let's go to Harrison
what they're
first.
dealing with. So yeah,
Harrison, what's your level? I wasn't so surprised by Gary Harrison, Will Barton. Jamal Murray was a little bit, but what's your level of concern from like 1 to 10?
I think if this was a playoff game, Jamal Murray's probably playing. Maybe the other guys are too, but I have the least amount of concern about Jamal Murray. Then probably Will Barton. Then probably Gary Harris. Really, Barton and Harris had a similar level. But Murray I'm least concerned about, and he's the most important, so that's at least good news for Denver. But, I mean, Harris, we haven't seen him practice. It seemed like he got this hip injury that came up as soon as he got down there to Disney World. Will Barton played in one scrimmage. Maybe he shouldn't have played in that scrimmage. He didn't look that good. It looked like his knee was really bothering him. So I think it's just concerning because we haven't really seen those guys on the floor yet.
Is it the same knee for Barton, Harrison? Do we know? Is it the same knee that was bothering him earlier in the year?
I believe there's maybe a little overlap there.
Yeah,
I
I'll
think
have to
there's
double
some connection.
check that and look into it. But that does concern me because Barton's had all this time to get healthy.
I know.
I mean, in theory, these guys aren't playing. I'm sure they found pickup runs and time to
Sure.
get in the gym, but so did everyone else across the league. So
Yeah.
the Barton one concerns
and look,
me
like
a little bit.
a lot of people were hitting me on Twitter like, look, they had 4 months off. How are they already injured? People got to understand that after a 4-month layoff, the ability to get injured has never been higher. The risk of injury is an all-time high right now. So, I mean, I'm not too surprised they're a little banged up. Teams throughout the league are banged up, but it's definitely unfortunate. But, I mean, when you're ramping up and going from nothing to back into NBA practices, there are going to be some injuries. People got to understand it.
I mean, look, there's nowhere to place blame, but we can also acknowledge that every other team in the league is going through this same thing. And guys, a lot of key guys aren't missing for some of these teams. I mean, LeBron's 3,000 years old. He played in the scrimmages.
I know.
So,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? If we're worried about caution.
That actually brings me to another point here that I just thought of. Was Paul Millsap tonight was another sort of biggest loser. I thought he looked really slow tonight.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Even defensively. There was the one time where he sprinted back. It was like him and somebody else. He tried to sprint back to stop the layup. You could just tell, like, He looks like I do when I have to like sprint after my kid, where it's like you sprint and you're like, oh, ooh, yeah, ooh, I'm not warmed up for that.
Or like a fast break, like layup opportunity, and he's chasing it down, and he goes for the steal instead of the block because he
Paul
can't get
Millsap's
up
a
off
year
the
younger
ground.
than me.
It's
So
crazy.
I know how much he's aching.
Oh,
I was hoping, I was expecting this break to be great for Paul, and for him to look fresh and springy relatively.
Yeah.
So that was a little concerning.
Jeremy Grant had like real holding onto the ball issues. Paul
Yeah.
Millsap again had real holding onto the ball issues. There was
What did
just
you
like
guys
a
think
lot-
about Jeremy Grant at the 3? Because he played a lot of 3 tonight.
He did. And if you look at his stat line, 19 points tonight, like on 7 of 14 shooting, pretty good efficiency. Now, here's the weird
It's better
thing.
than I thought.
2 rebounds. I mean, you get 2 rebounds from him, 1 rebound from Michael Porter Jr. It's kind of weird sometimes. Some of the the guys you count on to kind of be a plus there.
Yeah.
I thought there were a handful of moments where Jeremy Grant didn't look very good, but thinking about it further now, I almost wonder if that's a symptom of the problem, where he had a freedom on offense tonight that ideally you don't want him to have because you're healthy and everyone has their role, and he's quite good at playing his role. But tonight there was a lot of like post-ups and turnaround faders and mid-rangers. Look, at the end of the day, his stat line looks nice, but I actually thought that was reflective of a less than healthy half-court offense.
No, to your point, Vote. I mean, he was asked to do a lot tonight,
Right.
and we know he's a role player who's like a 3-and-D guy pretty much. So I think the stat line was just a reflection of everything he was asked to do without Murray, without Harris, without Barton.
Right.
So I mean, he tried. He did what he could. It's not his natural game to play like he did tonight, but he just tried to fill the role he needed to.
Yeah. What other questions we got here, Vote?
I got one that's not about the guards. It's from Miroslav. What's your favorite Brett Brew after a loss?
That's the only question, not about.
Yeah,
that's
that really
funny.
is.
Well, to tell you, how sad of a human I am at the moment. I'm having a coffee with an ice cream in it. So.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I was
They don't
too lazy
serve
I
to
mean,
those
it
down
is at
here.
1 o'clock. So
That sounds
it's
good. They
fine.
don't serve them down. They don't serve them down here, guys.
Yeah, I'm not ready. I'm not brew ready at this moment either.
I wasn't.
I'm gonna drown my sorrows. in
Generally
probably
speaking,
another
though, Mountain
cup
Beach,
of
because
coffee.
it's the happiest beer. And so it really...
It's my go-to when I'm
levels me
here.
out.
That's my
Josh Barnett also asked us, which of the guys do you think would have gone if this was a high-leverage game? I think Wind already answered that question. It would have been Murray. I mean, how big of a difference does Murray make if he plays in this game?
A major difference.
Right? It's almost hard to evaluate this game solely because of the fact that he was out. Without Denver's second
Oh my
scoring
god,
option.
the entire starting offense is predicated on the idea of Jokic and Murray, the two-man game.
And MPJ goes out because of the effort or the defense or whatever. So then this all defensive lineup comes in as they're falling behind, right? The gap's getting bigger. They don't even have their second best scorer on the floor because he can't get on because of D, right? So that I think that 14-0 and then which was part of a bigger run in the third quarter, I just think that's broken up by a couple of big buckets from Jamal.
Well, last thing, we'll look ahead here in just a second, but to put a button on this game, when we have to do this, guys, we get to do it / have to do it. We have to nominate a DraftKings King of the Game.
Oh.
Yeah, you're not going to like mine.
You're not gonna like it. I don't know that I can award this to a Nugget, not in a loss. You know, sometimes there's a valiant effort, you know, a King that really stood his ground against the charging army. That was not the case tonight. If I had to pick a King of the Game, mine personally would be Duncan Robinson. I think you could go Kelly Olynyk as well. You could probably go Jimmy Butler. To me, Duncan Robinson, he was the guy that it's just like when he's in the game, I felt like Denver's defense was falling all over themselves trying to run around.
I think I heard Wynn cry this from the couch behind me, but how are you not switching on those picks? I mean, they got caught every time.
Wait, hold up. Were you in the Grandestino?
Wait a second. What do you mean?
Oh,
you heard
sorry, I
from
broke
him? Yeah.
the fourth wall. Well, you know, we're always on the phone one tonight.
Oh, that's right. We had Harrison on a live feed on the
Yeah.
couch behind us.
Where would you go with if you had to nominate a King of the Game, Eric? This is really becomes into like who was the killer of the game.
I mean, I
don't think DraftKings wants
on
that
principle
language.
alone, I cannot award a king to anyone on the Heat. So, the Nuggets King of the Game, the King in the South,
We can call him the Kang of the game.
the Kang of the gang would be. I'd give Yoke the king. He's the king for us. He was our king.
I like it. Okay, you know what? I'll take it. Here's the thing about Yo. You guys know I'm a Yoke guy, and I thought this game was a B+ game. They needed an A+ game
Yeah,
if they were going to
for
win
sure.
with this many people down. And look, it's only the first of 8 meaningless games. So
Yeah, I mean, and he didn't even really have that great of a game. I was like, should I give it to PJ Dozier, who had like that 1 5-minute
yeah, it was
stretch?
very short. Yeah, could have been Bol. Bol was like at least
Yeah,
exciting.
yeah.
I think Bol came in the end when we were so depressed that we're just like, let's just have fun. And
Yeah.
It was.
It was fun.
It was fun.
Yeah, so I know the game was over in the third quarter, But Kelly Olynyk became the first Miami Heat to drop 20 in the fourth quarter since
Wow.
Dwayne Wade in 2009.
He had all of his points in the fourth, huh?
So, like, I think the game was already out of hand, but I just kind of tip my hat to Kareem Abdul-Canada.
Kareem Abdul-Canada. Harrison, nominate a king of the game.
I have 3 kings of the game.
Get
King
out of here!
Fitzgerald, James Williams, Dedrick Taylor, the 3 officials tonight. Wow. I think there were 60 fouls maybe called between the 2 teams.
Grandestino take.
I can't believe it.
The officiating's been bad at the bubble. I don't want to devolve into officiating talk, but
let's actually talk about it in this one way. So there was a lot of texts in that Portland-Memphis game the other day, and they were like for cursing. Like the texts were like they yelled too directly at the opponent. Now look, man, I actually hate this. I wish Adam Silver would come out. Somebody told me they're worried about the FCC. They're like, they're going to hear a bunch of curse words and then like they're going to get fined. Then figure something out. But telling players in a do-or-die game, Memphis and Portland, that's do-or-die for both teams. And somebody cursed 3 times in a row, 3 possessions in a row, there was a tech. We got to stop that. We got to get out of there.
100%. That game was too good to be interrupted.
It
by
was
stuff
a
like
great
that.
game.
And I think you sent a really good tweet. Like, there's no fans here, man. These guys have to manufacture energy as it was.
Yeah.
And it's like and almost playoff energy at that.
Yeah.
So let them get excited.
I don't remember. Somebody up here said it, and it's so true. Maybe it was RK. It was like the fact that there are no fans to hold the refs accountable. Like, there's no fans just like threatening their lives.
That was me, but
oh, it was you. Like
minus the
telling
threatening their lives part,
telling them that they're going to wait for them outside, and
Right.
stuff like that.
we
Like
do
the
drunk with power, baby.
You're right.
Yeah,
we do
'cause
need people threatening the ref's lives. That's the one
If
thing
someone
that we're
tells
missing.
you
never
you
knew-
suck enough times and they mean it, eventually
we never realized the tenuous balance that is struck by people threatening the refs' lives.
Harrison, was there anything in the press conference today that made you feel one way or another about whether or not some of these guys are going to return? Jamal Murray, Gary Harris, Will Barton?
No.
sick.
That's your live report from the Grand Festina. I didn't think so. But let's look ahead now. So Oklahoma City on deck, right? The good team. As
Good
another really
Last time I looked, they were walloping on the Jazz. Let's see if
Can I tell you guys, I'm sneaky afraid of Oklahoma City Thunder.
I'm sneaky afraid of every team in
Me
the bubble.
too.
Yeah, until the 3 of the starters get back, it's gonna be rough.
Oh, the Thunder up 54-37 on the Jazz men.
On the Jazz?
Yes.
Oh, what a feel-good story. That's a really feel-good story. So what do you expect to see different in this next game? I mean, aside, I guess, the injury thing we don't know about. I would bet Jamal Murray plays.
That's
if
what
he
I would
doesn't, sound the alarm.
That's what I would think. Man, I'd hate to come up empty with your question. I don't know what to expect that would be different. You know what I mean? I don't know how to evaluate this game if we're assuming
Bol Bol played 11 good minutes. Do you think he plays more?
No.
Yeah,
I think
no.
more guys are healthy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Michael Porter Jr. played a lot
expect-
of bad minutes.
Yeah,
Do you
no,
think
I
he'll play more?
yeah, I expect actually good minutes out of
Better.
MPJ. Like he was a little shaky out the gate. You could tell like he had little nerves and
He was, yeah.
He
had
uh,
some great looks early. In
Yeah,
this
he did. He came out and
I
like
think
had
if he
some
hits
wide
those
open
looks,
threes.
it's a different game, man.
Totally. Like once he gets his confidence rolling.
Yeah.
He never had that moment where he started to like really. I mean, we got like I think 1 3-pointer out of him. He fired up a bunch of bricks, but he had the shots.
Yeah.
Just didn't hit them.
I think MPJ plays better. I also think if Jamal's out there, you see a more engaged Yoke in the second half. I think Yoke looked around tonight and thought, yeah, not happening. And
Well, I think that run, you lost faith with about 3 minutes left in the
course.
third quarter. It was like, okay, now they're down 15. They
Right.
just were up 5 and they're down 15. Like it happened so fast and was so resounding that I think we all knew.
exactly.
Yeah, I just came up with this. I think that like this is like a make or miss league.
Oh, that's
Man, we should start referring it that way.
Sometimes the shots do go in. Other times.
Other times they don't.
Harrison,
go in.
what do you think is going to be different about the next game? Meaningfully different?
I don't know much that will be different. Torrey Craig played 30 minutes tonight. I could see him playing 35 against Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
Just shadowing Chris Paul the whole game,
That's a good point.
especially if they don't have Gary Harris. So
Yeah.
as central as Torrey Craig was to tonight's game, I think you'll see even more of him on Monday.
Right back into the fires of despair. I love it.
You know what is funny? I was sitting here thinking in that third quarter, I was like, there's so much I love about I love all of it, to be honest, but there's some things that bring you so high and some low.
Oh, my
and
gosh.
like seeing the all defensive lineup in that third quarter just completely like shit the bed. I was like, well, that's right. I remember this. I remember this is like my least favorite thing.
All of a
is
sudden, it
the
doesn't feel so long ago.
No, yeah, it's the least favorite thing is when you have the fun lineup and it
Yeah.
makes like the mistakes. And it
Yeah.
was like, let's not lie, Michael Porter Jr. was doing terrible in that third quarter.
Sure.
And it's like, all right, let's take him out and let's go to that defensive line. They They got a Jokic 3 and a Torrey Craig putback on their first 2 possessions and then didn't score for 5 minutes.
I mean, you put a defensive lineup in there to stop the bleeding, but then you forget about making up the deficit. You know what I mean? Like, you got to.
And meanwhile, Duncan Robinson just went on fire, and it was like, well, I guess nothing matters.
How do the Nuggets get a guy like Duncan Robinson on their team?
I know.
Just a guy who's like, oh, he's open, he's not afraid to shoot, and I'm pretty sure that's going in.
That is MPJ.
I know.
That is MPJ.
Yeah, they need him to be. They need him to become
Didn't
that
look
guy.
like it tonight,
It
but-
did not look like it tonight.
But yeah, no.
Well,
Make or
I
mistake.
can't believe we just put Duncan Robinson as MPJ's like ceiling. He can be that guy.
he's got to get there.
Crazy season for Robinson.
That's so funny. He's a good player, though.
Great
Man. I mean, that's actually a for
Joe
real good
Harris,
player.
Duncan Robinson.
Yeah. I think that's it, guys. I'll tell you one thing. You know who the real winner of this game was? Well, I was gonna say it was the breakfast hash, but I ate the. I guess it's me because I had the breakfast.
You were the
hash.
big winner for
I was
eating
the big winner
for eating a breakfast hash.
Because I'm telling you, you look outside here. You got the beautiful bar, great social distancing, an incredible man. We haven't had breakfast here since March 11th. That was the last time I ate breakfast at this place because we haven't been doing it. Brought the brunch back. It was fantastic.
That's
I'm dying
that's
for some of that brunch.
Did you not get any?
Well, he's in Florida.
Oh yeah,
It's
that's
a
right.
long- I
We
mean,
gotta
I
get
sent
a-
him
you guys
some,
know.
but-
You have like a Mickey Mouse waffle
Subpar.
situation. What's going on down there?
We'll go to another bubble food corner next
Oh yeah,
time
Bubble
we
Food
hit
Corner.
you.
What's going on down there?
Thanks so much. You can cue the goodbye music here. It's already going. All right, there you go. Thanks so much, everybody, for tuning in. Again, Monday's the game. We're going to be watching it here at the DNVR bar. They play Wednesday.
We'll
gonna
be watching it here at the DNVR bar.
They play Thursday.
I'll be
You know where
watching
you go
it
at the DNVR bar?
Yeah.
That's a
You wanna go?
lot. That's a lot of breakfast hash.
That's a lot of breakfast hash. I'm going to be so big by the end of this run. Go ahead and hop online and look at our events calendar, RSVP. You guys can come down here in a safe and responsible manner.
You must RSVP.
Must RSVP, and then we're going to be doing this again. Hopefully the Winners Lounge. Beat Oklahoma City.
It's
You know
gonna
what?
it's
I
gonna
actually-
happen.
I
Producer
actually hope-
Ali has a take.
Not all games are RSVP. Some will be first come, first served. They're launch party games.
Not all are RSVP. I'm told some are first come, first serve. Probably Monday's first come, first serve.
We'll keep you posted from the DNVR Nuggets account. Check the event calendar on thednvr.com.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you guys on Monday.
Peace.